Actually, Ford lets me teach once a year just to get more speakers, because once they see me, they're like, I can do that. So definitely sign up. Talking about today is anyone can do QA automation, right? Anyone, quote unquote. We'll talk about what that anyone means. So my name is Tyler Lemke. I'm a full stack software developer at an insurance company by day. I work at a startup called ZenLeap as well. We help people to find jobs. I'll have a link at the end if you'd like to sign up for a free account on there. We're focusing on Dallas area. And I love to share information and do lots of research on different things. So you can get the slide deck. You can connect with me. Here are my ways to connect. And you can get this deck by putting this into your said device. You can see that down there. I'll have that link again at the end, and I'll post it afterwards. So don't worry, you'll see it somewhere. So goal tonight is try to get in the right mindset for getting started in automation testing or helping other people get started. Maybe motivating other people that you know. I really enjoy helping lift other people up. And if you yourself are a manual dev or you want to start shifting some of the responsibilities more onto BAs at your company, I'm going to show some ways that you might be able to do that, as well as technologies. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I hope this can be interactive as well. I'm definitely not an expert on any of these things, but I'm interested in them, and I like to use different technologies. So please feel free to chime in at any time. This will be a fun discussion tonight we can have together. So what's the problem that we have, right? Why are we doing QA? Well, these are all the problems. You probably have seen them all before. But some of them are time constraints as a developer. So I'm a developer, right? So I always have fear of changing old code bases. And that's why I hate that there's not automated tests to tell me if this code base is working, because I hate manual testing. Anyone in here a manual tester? Like solely manual testing or mostly manual testing? I know everyone does some manual testing, right? I do manual testing too, but. So everyone does some QA or automation stuff. Cool. It's not anything against anyone either. I just personally hate doing manual testing. So it talks about my character more than anyone else. I'm glad there's people out there. I'm glad you guys can do that, a lot of that for me. So, so why do I like automated testing? So I actually started my career out as an intern here. I actually moved from Idaho to Texas to do a software. My title was software intern, which makes no sense to me, but whatever that means. So I was doing basically bug fixes inside of a semi-mature code base. And so I did that a lot, and I kind of, one thing led to another, and it wasn't working out, and I got shifted into being tech support level 3, which wasn't a real role. They made it for me because they liked me, but they didn't want me to be on the dev team anymore. So it was a frustrating situation. What happened is I ended up actually doing manual testing a lot of the time, and I was testing some applications. We had 2 mobile applications at the company that I worked at, and these mobile applications were they were like Cordova-based, PhoneGap type applications. They're all web-based technologies. And I kept manually testing. First of all, I had to figure out how to be a manual tester. I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing when I manual test, to be honest. But I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna make a spreadsheet and put some stuff in here and try to figure it out. Maybe you guys have been there before, right? So I was like, I'm gonna try to make the best of this and try to make a, when I did that, I kept thinking as I actually did that when I was still an intern, and as I kept on doing this manual testing, I was like, man, this is killing me. I've got to find a way to automate this. So I looked at Appium. Maybe you guys have heard of Appium before. So I looked at Appium and I was like, man, I can automate this. It's gonna make my day. I'm not gonna dread work every day. So I tried to automate an Appium, and I couldn't get the app to run in Appium. So it was just a blank screen, and maybe you guys have had that happen before as well with certain technologies. So the long and short of it is I found out that I couldn't use, because of the way the app was implemented, there's no way to attach and to automate this application. Now I could have automated it with visual AI or some other tools we have here today, but I couldn't use Appium to do it, and I just gave up at that point. I was like, okay, right. So come to today, I've carried on liking having automated testing so I can have more confidence about the software I work with. And so that's a little bit about my background. I also work on doing DevOps. I work with a bunch of different technologies, so I'm pretty much a jack of all trades and master of none. So, but I listened to an interesting book recently. Has anyone heard of this book before? So this is a really, really cool book. I like it a lot. Have you guys heard of Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers book? Okay, so the 10,000 hour rule, right? And you actually find out, he actually talking specifically about Malcolm Gladwell, where he got it right and where he got it wrong in this book. Now, I could give an entire presentation about this book, but the big takeaways that I took from this book was anyone can get good at anything, roughly speaking. And let me rephrase that. So one of the studies that's cited inside this book is IQ test correlation between of high IQs and lower IQs with chess grandmasters, right? So what he cites inside here is there's been different studies over time where they try to see, well, do kids with higher IQs, are they better at chess? And yes, they are better at chess. But what happens is once you get to an elite level, it no longer matters. There's zero correlation between a high IQ and being a chess grandmaster. And so he goes on to say, well, this is probably true. It's the same with Go. Has anyone heard of the game Go? Right? So actually those who, I think it was, he mentioned South Korean males that had it was like an IQ of 93, which is lower than average, were some of the best Go players ever. The reason I mention this is because our self-limiting beliefs is what keeps us from learning new things, right? So this book is a really good way. I actually just use it for my wife to help her with some of her self-doubts, and it's helped me to change my thinking of my self-doubts about what I can become really good at. Now, the caveats here are the people who had lower IQs usually had to put in more time to get better, right? But some of them actually became better because they practiced more. They out-practiced the competition. So it's not that learning new things isn't hard. It is hard work. But what the takeaway I had from this book was if you have the desire to learn something and you can focus on it long enough and get through the boring parts, you can master anything. And so you can do that with automation. If you have, remember, how many people in here have manual QAs on their teams? Anyone? Or knows manual QAs? So if they have, I think if you have a desire to learn something, that's pretty much all you need to start. And then you just need to fuel that desire. So if you can be supportive to them, they can keep looking. So here's some of the points that I would focus on is if you yourself are just learning a brand new topic, right? For a brand new technology, right? We've all learned new technologies. We have to learn new technologies all the time. And you go through this every time. Oh man, I'm horrible at this, right? Because you compare yourself with other people who are really good. You go and see the experts who spent 10,000 hours, right? 20,000 hours on things. You're like, man, I'm never going to be there. So we need to look for progress, not perfection. We need to remember that getting started takes time, right? It takes time to get good at things. And we need to get a mentor. So either you can be a mentor to those people that you know that want to start a new technology, whether it be QA, apply this to anything you want. Whether it's to this QA automation stuff tonight, you can help someone else in any field that you know more than them about and get them started. So we're going to talk about some tools tonight, and here's some of the constraints that I put on myself or kind of just naturally occurred. So we're going to look at free tools, open source tools that might have a paid component, but we're going to focus mostly on free tools. We're going to look at no code and JavaScript based solutions. That's another constraint I had. And this last line just means we're going to present different types of technologies that they can test. So let's talk about some code-based solutions first. So who's heard of Test Cafe or Cypress? A few of you? You've definitely heard of Cypress before, right? Cool. Well, I'm really excited because this is going to be fun. Well, the no-code and low-code solutions are Robot Framework, Catalan Recorder, Cognizant Intelligent Test Scripter, Securely X, or Cypress Cucumber preprocessor. So for how many of you in the room is one of these tools new? Or has everyone heard of all these tools? Cool, awesome. So I've done my job tonight. I've introduced you to a possible new tool. So the first one is Robot Framework. Who's familiar with this? Anyone? So Robot Framework, and we can click on these different sites and stuff. I did this all in Markdown, so we don't have many pictures tonight. The book is the only picture you get. But we're gonna, we'll go over a few characteristics of Robot Framework. So it's used for acceptance testing and RPA. So does anyone have to do RPA and automated testing?
I'm currently learning RPA.
Yeah, so I think this is really big. So I was looking at this is technically not, so this is basically a no-code solution, but you can also extend it with Python. So if anyone's using Python, I forgot the other language it uses, but you can extend it with Python and one other language. So it uses BDD syntax or Gherkin style syntax for creating the tests. And there's a ton of libraries that are associated with it. At the end of the slide deck, if this is something that you're interested in, you can test web platforms, and I think you might be able to test apps as well. But I actually found a really cool resource on GitHub. So at the end, there's a resource for all these different libraries and videos and stuff you can learn Robot Framework with. It's basically automation. Like I don't know. It seems like it's a rephrasing of what's been done for years. Like it's called robotics process automation, but it's basically just automating things. Like
you have like a bunch of manual or tedious processes. Like somebody has 500 customers they have to enter through UI. So you just use the RPA tools just to go through and do it. Figure it out how to
Cool, so hope that, but I thought it was an interesting term because I think it's kind of a re-coining of a term that's been around a long time. I don't know a lot about the history of it, but.
But I mean, also you could use a test automation tool to accomplish the same thing, but the RPA doesn't really, you're not using it for testing. I mean, the tools are just made for automating manual processes.
Right, I've heard of people use Selenium for doing RPA as well. One of the guys I work with does it too, but there's specialized tools for it, right? So Robot Framework is one of, what's the tools that you've heard of for doing RPA stuff?
UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Prism.
Cool.
Those are the three main ones, but I'm learning currently right now, take online, trying to get certification.
Awesome, thanks for sharing that. So Catalan Recorder is one some of these I've used, some of them I'm just research. Catalan Recorder is one I've used before. Who's heard of Catalan Studio, right? So Catalan Recorder is the little brother. It's like the Selenium recorder. Have you heard of that? So it's a Chrome Firefox extension. Now we used this last year. We ran into a lot of limitations with what it could do, but it's just you just go and record your actions, type some stuff away, and it gets all the selectors for you. It kind of does everything for you. So if you want to get someone started in automation, go, hey, this is kind of, get them started using the developer tools and get them started understand how XPath works and things like that. This is a really good tool just to get people started. Now, it might be limiting in what you can do with it, but it's a great starting place. It's hard to run with your CI/CD pipeline. Does anyone use any DevOps stuff to run their automated tests against their builds? Cool. So that's another one. So again, this one I wouldn't use for production, but it's good. It's a good starter point.
You use the Catalan Studio that has a command line option integrated with Jenkins. Recorder helps you to quickly capture the syntax, but they also have something called the Catalan Studio. It's again free. So where they have a command line, you can create as a project, then you can run whatever the script that you capture from a command line. That gives the independence. We can put it in Jenkins or do. It can run. But the only problem with this tool is we cannot have the report locally. It sends the data to the cloud. So our data is there in the cloud. That is the one thing caveat on this one.
So
otherwise, we have automated and it is part of our Jenkins pipeline.
So for Catalan Studio though, can you do the record and
Yeah, it comes with that.
click? Okay. So the reason we didn't do that was because I wanted to get I'm in a .NET stack. I wanted to get .NET code out of that record and click, and you can't do that with Catalan Studio. You can do it with Catalan Recorder. So that's one difference as well. Thanks for bringing that up. So Cognizant Intelligent Test Scripter. Has anyone heard of this tool? No. Okay, go check this out. This one's really cool. We'll actually go over to the site. So if we look at some of the features on this one, this is built by Cognizant. You've probably heard of Cognizant before, right? They're a big consultant firm. It's in Java. I don't know how stable it is. I barely got it working at one point, and we decided not to go with it. But the reason I think it's really cool and why you should check it out is because of some of the features that it has. So it uses Selenium under the hood, right? So you can get your multi-browser support. But it also has some layout testing and accessibility testing that you can do with it, which is also cool. You can also use, is anyone using like Selenium Grid or any Sauce Lab stuff to run Selenium tests in parallel or whatever? I've never done stuff like that. No one? Okay, cool. But you can do all that stuff. It also has Seculi, which we'll talk about in a second, and that is a really, really cool. It's basically does like OCR or image. It uses images to automate how you drive your page, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But this seemed like a really cool tool because it's all point and click, and it's integrated with everything. So I would go check it out. Again, it's a free tool, and take with it what you will. You'll have to get it running with Java and stuff, so it might help if you guys are on the Java stack and do builds and stuff with that. Might help get it running, but I would check that one out for sure. And we already went over all the different portions of it. So Seculi. Seculi's actually been dead for a while, but there's a branch off of it called Seculi X. And I wish I had a screenshot here for it, but they call it, it's what you see is what you script. So when you see the scripts inside there, you'd actually just kind of take snapshots of images, and you can say, oh, on this button, click. So it'll have an OK button. It'll go try to find that OK button on the screen and click on it. So it's really, really cool. I heard about this actually years ago, probably 4 years ago, and people were trying to like play like Farmville or something on Facebook with it to try to go harvest everything. So you can do a lot of different things, but it lets you automate both websites and applications on the desktop. So there might be. I was actually talking today about we were running into an issue with the QA, as I was saying, we might want to use this tool to get around some of the issues we're having, because this might be able to bridge the gap for certain parts of your automation that you're running if you have no other ways to automate certain tools.
So is that, would you consider that a scriptless language?
Yeah, it's pretty much scriptless. It's you have an image and then you just say what action you want to do on it.
Just point and drag.
So this is, most of these I considered no code, like they're basically English or, scriptless stuff, point and click. I haven't messed around with this one myself. I've seen some videos of it and stuff, but it's been so long that I haven't played with it. But
I'd be really curious when you're matching images like that, how you deal with like different screen sizes and just different like how you can make your resolution you have okay.
what are you saying? I couldn't hear.
What happens is, he pointed it out, you're recording, you are giving that image. When you have a different monitor or resolution changes, then it won't click on the top. So different, it is not really reliable solution, but it's a very easy to do it. But dependency, like reliability wise, you need to have the same kind of resolution setup where you are running it. Otherwise,
Right. So it's probably good for RPA stuff where you know things are going to be, you can control your environment. You're not trying to test on different browser sizes. Right. And that's the other thing of Cognizant tool. I think it uses it links with what's the browser, the multi-browser service. It links with that as well, so you can go test on all the different browser.
Browser stack?
Yeah, browser stack. I was trying to think. It's like stack now. Yeah, it is. So perfect. So I was originally going to present on what was it called? Pickle.js. And I actually played around with it. I didn't like it a ton. And I recently found this one called Cypress Cucumber preprocessor. Who's familiar with Cucumber? A few of you? Okay. Who hates Selenium or who loves Selenium in here? We have people who love Selenium? Who hates all the waiting and the other issues? Okay. So we'll get into Cypress in a second. But Cypress Cucumber basically allows you to use Gherkin syntax inside of Cypress. This doesn't mean anything to you yet, but it's really, really cool. We'll probably focus mostly on Cypress at the end because that's what I have the most experience with. So Cypress is a really, really cool tool. So it's JavaScript only. This is a coded solutions now. And you can install it that easily, npm Cypress. And this is what let's actually watch this video. I don't know if we'll get audio for it, but. I don't know if I have it set up correctly through my, yeah, it says going through the display audio. See if it works. Did you hear anything?
We have a nice crackling noise.
Oh, yes. White noise. Put us all to sleep. ASMR.
Oh yeah, you can hear it through the static.
All right, let's just turn it down. I'll just narrate for fun. All right, so this is Cypress. So it's an all-in-one tool for doing your testing, and it's only websites, so you don't do anything else. What you see is going on here is actually a Cypress test being run. So this is the Cypress runner, I believe it's called. And each one of these steps on the side, you actually have insight to what's going on inside your tests. Unlike Selenium, where it's a black box. So because of how Cypress runs and the technology behind it, I won't get too much into it, and I don't know all the specific details. But it actually runs in line with the JavaScript and can capture everything that's going on with your browser, right? So it's kind of like a hacked Chromium browser that can capture everything. So with it, you can run all your tests, see exactly what happens. And on each one of these steps, you can actually inspect the exact state that your page was in. And you can see what happened. It also shows you all the XHR requests, all the good stuff like that. And you can see they're resizing the browser. So what it would look like on mobile. But again, it doesn't do mobile like Appium would or anything like this. This is not running Selenium. This is a completely new technology. And it's amazing. I don't know a lot about Selenium. I know I rag on it a little bit, but I know that we've used something, a company called Leapwork that used Selenium. We didn't have luck with that. Every time I've heard or we try to implement Selenium, it's just not fun. So if you're doing greenfield type code, if you're not locked into Selenium, that's probably where Cypress, I'd go try Cypress immediately. Last year I presented on Cypress, and I talked about how it didn't really work very well with .NET. That code actually just got implemented on my team, and we just hired a we just hired a guy who's doing QA automation, and we were purely a manual shop before. So all our teams are switching over magically to QA automation. I was like, this is never going to happen. What happened? This is awesome. So he's actually teaching himself. I just gave him a few tools. I said, hey, he knows Selenium. He was actually doing RPA in Selenium. I said, hey, here's a bunch of videos on it, and he didn't know JavaScript before. He knew some C# and maybe a little bit of JavaScript, and he just has taken it and run with it with the code that I presented. Yeah.
Do you offload your QA stuff to like a Sky server, server?
We don't yet. We're going to be doing that. That's possibly something I might talk about in the future, although I think most people use, what do you guys use for CI/CD? Like Jenkins? Okay. I do .NET stuff, so I don't know how helpful that would be for anyone. What's that? Azure stuff. Like most people don't do it, so. But I like to not try too many different technologies because I get lost. So.
Does that run headless?
Yeah, it does. It runs headless. So it's changed since last year. Is anyone else here besides Ford? I don't think I recognize anyone. So what's changed recently, and what you need to know about Cypress is, go back to the slides here. So it only runs against Chrome or Chromium or Electron. So you're not going to be able to run this against Firefox. Insert browser here, right? There's millions of them, millions of iterations. So it's just doing acceptance testing. It does have some plugins where you can do snapshot testing if you want to, and even visual testing as well with images. There's actually a paid tool you can use to go and do visual regression tests on your applications. It now runs in parallel, where it didn't used to before, so that's new-ish. And you can get your first test up and running. How many people have JavaScript experience in here? A few of you? Okay. You should be able to get your first steps up and running in like 5 minutes. It's really cool. They have a bunch of different examples you can use. This is by far favorite tool I've used. But I have an alternative to it. I'm not a complete fanboy. I was going to bring my Cypress. They gave me a free shirt for going to like one of their online conferences, so I was going to bring it. You guys wouldn't have known I was like a Cypress fanboy. So.
How is the weight comment work?
What's that?
The weight comment, like it's telling me of the weight, handling the weight.
Yeah, so it can, what you can do, so for example, you can actually specify routes, and you can wait for XHR requests to come back explicitly. And you say, wait for this to come back. Oh, yep, it came back, you're good. And then all the weights are built in, so it waits 4 seconds and then it dies. And you can extend that if you'd like. Some certain scenarios you'll have to throw sleeps in there, but versus Selenium, it reduces a lot of the wait times. It's a really cool tool. You have to play with it to believe me. So go play with it because you guys have more experience in Selenium than I do. So go play with it and see what you think. I will give you one. We actually got taught on Angular just in June, I think, and I was talking to the guy there that uses Protractor for doing the end-to-end tests, and he said he spent 2 days trying to get these Protractor tests to work. And this may talk a little bit more about Protractor, but what's under the hood of Protractor? Selenium, right? In 2 hours, he had all his tests working, and so he switched over to Cypress. And I was like, forget Protractor. I'm just going to go straight to Cypress. So I've had enough. You will get caught on certain things, but you have to remember too is like, what's the best tool for the job? If you have to test multi-platform, well, Selenium might be the best tool, right? But if you're doing acceptance testing, then do you have to test everything in on Selenium? You might want to do some of it in Cypress. Any other questions on Cypress? Because it's the one I know most about. So it's open source, free. They have a paid component if you want to record your videos and upload them online. But you can do CI completely free. So it's MIT. I think it's MIT open source. So no copy left. Sweet. So let's talk about the last one, Test Cafe. Now I think this one changed recently. Now this one I don't think is as cool as Cypress because you don't get, like the runner inside of Cypress just blows my mind, like that you can see every state of every single action and see exactly what's on screen and what's occluded and what's not occluded and inspect the source. It like blows my mind. I haven't tried out Test Cafe, but the cool part of Test Cafe is it's similar to Cypress. It's completely free for the open source stuff. So you can do, and it's cross-platform, right? So if you want something that's cross-platform, it's kind of in between Cypress and Selenium, this would be it. It's all JavaScript as well, but there is a paid portion, and this is a hashtag not sponsored, but they have a studio on it that does the point and click stuff if you want to do that as well. I know I was saying I was doing all open source stuff, but the coded part is completely free. And then if you want to have more extendability, you can go, pay up the dough. But there's lots of paid stuff out there, right? And then Appium is the final one. You can actually do mobile testing and Windows application testing, and it uses Selenium. It's just, from what I've heard, it's really, really good. Has anyone had experience using it? I tried to use it, but it didn't work for my app, obviously, as I said earlier. So who loves it? Do you like it?
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Would you recommend an alternative tool?
I mean, I've been looking for several years now. I'm still on Appium.
That's kind of how it is with Selenium, right? It's like, I have all these test cases. I don't know if I can switch. And
Well, it's part of the, I mean, I won't go into too much of it, but it has a lot to do with like our team size and like what we have, and we're trying to support so many different things, and we need something that's like very extendable. And Appium is kind of nice because it runs by itself, and you aren't putting anything in the code base. It kind of runs free and clear, and it works on both platforms.
cool. Awesome. 8 out of 10 from Ford. Official. You heard it here. Sweet. So where do we go from here? What's next? So what I want you guys to do is pick a tool from something that I'm pretty sure everyone's not heard of, at least one thing that I mentioned today. Pick a tool and go try it out. So that's what your homework is for tonight. Does anyone know which tool they want to try out?
You got me interested in Cypress.
Cypress? I'm a fanboy, so I hope I did. Yeah, back there? Cypress or Appium. Does anyone want to try out the Cognizant one?
Yeah. Kind of interested in that
Seculi? Seculi X or something? I have no idea. It's like the name of your company or whatever. So.
Not for testing purposes, but for some other.
You want to play some games. and go harvest, right? Awesome.
There's some little things that would actually help out with.
Sweet. So here's the resource page. I broke all the rules of how many words and stuff you're supposed to have on one slide deck. So again, if you want to get tonight's slide deck, go to that top link. So I'll give you time to take a picture again if you didn't get that first. I got a PDF. And they got a Markdown version. So it's really nice making slides in Markdown. Oh, that's beautiful. Just go try that out. I want to give a talk on that, but I don't know where to see. No one has a Markdown meetup group, so. You can start one. I'll be running the whole thing, presenting to myself. I'll record it and then watch it afterwards.
You'll be really interested.
I'll be really interested, yeah. I'll answer my own questions. It'll be great. Cool, so here's a list of some other links that I had as well. I didn't find a lot of, I was talking about this earlier, I didn't find a lot of Reddit groups, but I was trying to look for some to find some of these different tools. This robot framework library list, is anyone looking at doing that? So that's really cool. I'll go try it out. I don't think I gave it enough. Go look at the page and see if it might work for you. It works really well. Does anyone do like the acceptance, what is it called? Acceptance testing, it's like ATDD or something. Does anyone do that at their job?
I run a linter.
You run a linter?
Yeah, I use molecule.
Yeah, I think it's similar to like BDD, but it's doing acceptance testing. Is it ABDD? I can't remember. But go try that one out. And lastly, if you guys want to, or if you guys are looking for a job at all, go sign up on the Zenly platform. I'm affiliated with it, but it's free. And you can go check that out as well. So